Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Only Football Podcast. Tonight, we are going to be recapping all the action from week 14 in the NFL. We're going to talk about our top five, and of course, we're going to end it off with a little chives with Kyle. Let's get it. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. I'm Kyle and that's Rick.
That's Kyle.
And today we get to do the recap of what was a insane week, man. We got the thumbnail, kind of tells a little bit of the story. You got a little Danny DeVito. And what is Danny DeVito standing on Mahomes' crying face? You also have Russell Wilson. And who's the other great quarterback? Who's the other Will Levis. That's the other big name to know. I mean, it was a week for the underdogs. It was a week for the little guys to get their shine. And it was also a week for teams that have been winning 6 out of the last 7 to actually get treated like an actual football team. You are seeing a whole shift. The NFL Power Rankings have put the Denver Broncos at number 11. That is the highest they've been all year. Congratulations to the Denver Broncos on making it up there. But we're going to start at the top as always. But we are going to skip the Thursday night game. We talked about that one after the game. So we're going to go right into the first game. That was Tampa Bay playing the Falcons. This game was important for the NFC South, but honestly, no one cares because this division is ass. But these games have been kind of fun recently, and they've been close. Rick, do you care about this game? And who gets in? I mean, do you have like a team that gets in?
This is such an Atlanta Falcons thing to do, to go into this week and be like, we need the stub. We're looking good in the division. The Saints aren't doing well. Well, it's between the Saints and us. And then the Bucks just come in and they sneak in and they grab this dub, dude. And it's just I'm trying to wrap my mind around this division, and I can't fucking do it. I really can't do it. The division leader is 6-7. The Bears right now would probably be like a game out or something in the division. Regardless, the Bucks won and they did it efficiently. I mean, total offense, we're looking at 290 total yards, 144 pass yards from Baker Mayfield, 2 touchdowns. Rashad White received one of those touchdowns. Baker rushed for 1. So that was an efficient game from this Bucks team. And Atlanta, they put up stupid amounts of numbers. I mean, 338 passing yards from Ritter, a bunch of rushing yards from their guys. Algier, Robinson had a score, and even Ritter, rushed in for a score. So it was like impressive in terms of offense on the Atlanta side, but it was also even more impressive how efficient the Bucks were in this win. And I think the last score was to the tight end from Baker Mayfield to Otan for the touchdown. It's crazy, man, how Atlanta has like all the weapons that they have right now in this roster, and they just can't get those wins when they need them, and will propel them into a division lead. This would have given them not only a winning record, but the division lead. And it's just nobody wants it. They are not playing for this division. Nobody wants to go to the playoffs. Nobody wants to host a playoff game and lose. I think that's what's going on. So, that was just insane.
Yeah, the Falcons, they made too many mistakes in this game to win. And the Bucks, I thought they played a pretty good game. I think when you look at everything, I think Tampa's the most consistent team. Sure, you don't really trust any four of these teams, but
Mhm.
Desmond Ritter's making some mistakes late in games. It's hurting the Falcons. Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield has been somewhat good, this year as a quarterback. So, I mean, of course, as a quarterback, he wouldn't go in at running back, but
He did
you,
rush for a touchdown, though. He did rush for one, so he looked good there.
yeah. I mean, I don't. You never want to say never, because how many times do
Mhm.
teams really just feed off of the fact that nobody gives them a chance in the playoffs? I mean, we see
Yeah.
the least, I would say, the least winningest division every single year has a
Mhm.
team that gets in, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy." No one takes that team serious, but it's the
Mhm.
playoffs. It's football. Anything can happen. Mike Evans could go off for 200 yards,
Yeah.
and Baker Mayfield could have. I eventually the ceiling does stop probably at divisional, but
Mhm.
against like an Eagles team that's struggling, that's who they would end up playing.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the number 4 seed playing the number 6. So, I mean, if Philly played Tampa, I wouldn't say Tampa doesn't have a chance with the way Philly's playing right now. So,
Yeah.
the moral of everything I'm trying to say is it doesn't really matter what these teams are up to this point. It's kind of what they do from right now to the season. You They can define that for themselves, because they can be that team that at least gets to the divisional. I think Tampa has the talent if they can really kind of separate themselves from these other teams. But yeah, not putting money on any of it to happen.
No, not at all.
All right, our next game might be the game of the week. It was a really, really good game. It was the Baltimore Ravens going into double overtime at home against the Rams. The Ravens had a ton of big plays during the game, including
Yeah.
a walk-off punt return for a touchdown. The Rams come up a little bit short, but honestly, they played a really good game of football. I think Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are playing at a caliber where if they were playing like this in the beginning of the season and injuries didn't happen, they would definitely be in the playoff hunt. I still think, even though that they lost this game, when you look at losses to the Packers and some of these other teams, I think the Rams and Packers can both still make the playoffs. And they both, to me, look like a team that just played maybe their last difficult game. Even though the Giants one we'll get to is a little bit different. For the Rams, this was the hardest remaining game on their schedule, and they're right there, man. They're right there. So I'm kind of encouraged if I'm a Rams fan, but it does suck that they came up short.
Yeah, and you said it, like, this was overtime, double overtime game. It was exciting. There was a bunch of offense from both sides that you saw. And especially on the Ram side, like you said, like, a lot of this stuff is promising. You talk about early to even mid-season this year, and everyone, including myself, wrote the Rams off because they didn't come out as like hot as they usually do, right? Like you talk about their past seasons with McVay, and you're like, oh yeah, this team is going to be there at the end of the season, and you didn't see any of that. What you did see is you saw an emergence of Puka Nacua, you saw the return of Cooper Kupp, even though he did battle some injuries, and Matthew Stafford playing is just playing amazingly, right? Right, at least later down in the stretch. And like you said, if I'm a Rams fan, I'm feeling really, really good about this, like, just like 180 that the Rams have been able to do last 3-4 weeks. Because I've talked about it, Stafford, how the way he's played, it's just like it almost looks like he's playing like, this might be my final go at it. I'm going to give it everything I absolutely can. So I'm going to throw for 3 touchdowns. I'm going to throw for 350 yards. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to get this team, to will this team into the playoffs. And yeah, sure, it helps when you got Puka Nacua, getting over 80 plus receiving yards. You got Cooper Kupp, your very reliable wide receiver one, getting over 100 yards in this game against a defense in the Ravens that's still very good, no matter how many points they let up, no matter how many yards they give up. Like, it's still like a good defense. On the Ravens side, good for them, but they needed a punt return touchdown to win the game. Like that, for what they did that entire game, for what it's worth, that punt return touchdown, it's like you kind of just get a sigh of relief if you're a Ravens fan, or if you're just on the Ravens side. You're like, oh, thank God we were able to get that one, because it was looking like it was going to be a tie. You know what I mean? Like double
Yeah.
overtime shit like that. Like, it was looking rough. the offense is still not really missing a beat as far as on the Ravens side. The defense is worrisome because of the amount of points they've been giving up, and the amount of points they've given up in certain games and who they've lost to. Really, it's like, oh, you're gonna give up what 13 in the fourth quarter to the Steelers and then lose that game? Like, what the fuck? So Ravens, good job getting the win, but kind of going late into the season, it's getting a little scary. But if they stay atop, the AFC, they're going to get that bye. You kind of break up that shittiness that they've had.
Go.
Yeah, and it's a tough place to play. You get the bye, you break up whatever's kind of going on, whatever kinks you got to work out in the team, and hopefully you escape with that bye week when it comes to postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Ravens, at least schedule wise moving forward. They got to play Jacksonville, and somehow Trevor Lawrence is healthy. Then they got to take on the number 1 seed 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be home playing Miami, which is going to be a tough game too. And then Pittsburgh, who might be playing for their season. So, I mean, I look at this schedule and I think the Ravens, of course, they can win every single one of these games, but I also think that they could lose 2 of them. Okay. So, I think the AFC is still pretty open. But the Ravens do look like the one team. My Super Bowl prediction's looking really good right now. Ravens 49ers. Both these 2 teams are kind of separating themselves from a lot of the others, but the Ravens not in the way the 49ers are. The Ravens not in the same way, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. NFL research, the Tylan Wallace, the guy that returned the punt to win the game 76 yards.
Oh, yeah.
It was the 4th overtime punt return touchdown in NFL history. The second one this year, Xavier Gibson did it week 1 for the Jets. So something that's only happened 4 times in NFL history. We've gotten to see it 50% of those times this year.
Wow.
On Only Football. Hope you're enjoying this once in a lifetime year that we're having here.
I think we brought that stat to fruition, being a new show and such. I think we got to give ourselves some credit there.
For sure. And Crafty Southpaw makes a great comment about Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Tommy DeVito, Will Levis, Jake Browning. Who would have thought that these were going to be the quarterbacks leading stat leaders, whatever, passing yards,
Week 14.
I mean, what is going on this year, dude? I'm saying it. The NFL this season is on drugs. That this whole season is just a little bit high, and it's all a little weird. I mean, if you stepped away for 3 months and came back, imagine how you. Where's Joe Burrow?
No, they got this much better guy called Jake Browning.
Fucking shit. You don't even know who Jake Browning is yet.
Who the fuck is Tommy DeVito?
Where is Justin Herbert? Why is Aaron Rodgers not on the Jets?
Yeah. We thought last season was crazy. It just keeps getting crazier.
It just keeps getting crazier, including the Chicago Bears upsetting the Detroit Lions. The Bears were at home for this game, and they did not disappoint, winning by multiple possessions. Justin Fields has taken the Bears to back-to-back wins. He is, in my opinion, the franchise quarterback. With everything going on right now, I would assume that's the only question that's really happening this time of year, because it's not about the playoffs. It's about who are we and where are we going? And how can we use the remaining part of this year to, make that process a little shorter next year, so we don't have to, start all the way over, kind of like how Detroit finished strong last year. What would the Bears version of that be? And is this what we're seeing from them?
Dude, I've never been more confused as a Bears fan. You're
like, why are you asking me these tough questions? I don't know.
And that's the thing. It's such a tough question, because I was thinking about this, knowing we were going to stream tonight. I was like, I know I'm going to have to talk about like where the Bears direction is. Is Justin Fields the guy? Do they even have a shot at a wild card this year? Which I still don't think so. Mathematically, I'm wrong, but I personally don't believe they have a shot at the playoffs. Regardless of all that, let me talk about the game first. and then I'll kind of give like a scope or like what the feeling is around Bears
You're like,
Nation on
let me talk about the good news before we
before
get
getting
into
into
the
like
unknown.
yeah, into all the question marks. The game was very good. The game was like really, really good. It was good offensively. It was good defensively. Like special teams didn't necessarily play a big role, but I mean, it was still like we didn't lose the game because of it. So that's always a good. It's always a positive when you don't hear about one phase of the game. Justin Fields looked really good in this game. This is one of the first times that they took advantage of an offsides penalty from the defense and went for a touchdown. We Aaron Rodgers the fuck out of the Detroit Lions. So I'll just put that out there. They were actually able to do that to DJ Moore on a pass from Fields to DJ Moore. Great pass.
Where he
Everything about
learned
it was
that
touchdown.
everybody was probably saying he learned that from his daddy.
Fuck you. But it was a good game all around. Fields ran a lot. He has his best rushing games against the Lions for some reason. They made the Lions defense look pretty bad. They made the
Dog
Lions
shit.
defense look like absolute
Dog
shit. They let up 28 points, which for the Bears is a lot of points. But the defense too on the side of the Bears, like, dude, they are so good. They are now, like, not now, but like over the last, like, I would say about 4 to 5 weeks, they have played extremely well. And you got to give not Getsy, Eberflus credit. He's a defensive minded coach. He was a defensive coordinator with the Colts. He's good at getting that defensive unit together and playing really well. They've taken the ball away. They've stopped teams on third downs. The Lions, notorious for going on fourth down this week, stopped them at almost every fourth down they had in them. This defense has been playing extremely well. They are all over the field, all over the ball. It's just a very good defense, and credit to Eberflus for doing that. The one thing I will say is there were some passes from Fields, man, where he just overthrew Mooney, where not only was he out of the pocket with zero pressure, but Mooney was wide open, overshot him. There's times again where he's holding on to the ball for too long, where I'm just yelling at the TV to let go of it. So there's still things with Fields that, to me as a Bears fan, even in year 3, I'm still kind of like, all right, man, why can't you be CJ Stroud year 1? You know what I mean? Like it's a lot to ask from a quarterback, but you're in year 3. You've kind of, gotten the sense of things, is what it is. Those are going to be my critiques, really. As far as what this team is moving forward, Fields, I love his abilities. I love him running. I just still don't know, man. I still don't know if he's the guy. But if they're going to go with him, if Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, the president CEO, are going to move forward with Fields as the quarterback, then you have to get another offensive lineman, get a defensive lineman on the one side to up that pressure with Montez Sweat there now, and a couple of rookies that are making an impact to this year on the defensive side. But you really have to make sure that offensive line for Fields is stacked. Like, you have to have the best offensive line there is in the game next season, right? Even with a rookie who's making mistakes. Like, look, Darnell Wright, he's fine. He's doing fine. He makes mistakes, he gets flags, whatever, it is what it is. So that, it's going to be an unpopular opinion, I guess, in my part as a Bears fan, where in the draft, you got to get those linemen. You got to get those linemen on the offensive side and the defensive side. Can you get a Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first round? Yeah, probably. You can go for Caleb Williams if you want to. But I think with your other first round pick, you got to go defensive lineman or offensive lineman. Second, third round, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, defensive.
You got to do what the Texans did.
Exactly. Like you gotta get those guys in the trenches who are going to help you out. As far as Eberflus, I know for sure that they're gone. Like, they have to be gone. Like, no matter how much success you have in the end of the season, you're not going to the playoffs. Again, personally, that's what I think. Mathematically, they're still in. But if you're not going to the playoffs, nothing of what you've done late in the season, I don't think saves your job, really, because if you could have done this earlier in the season, you'd still have your fucking job, and the Bears would probably be second in the division, sixth in the playoff seeding or something like that, something along those lines. Because this team offensively can be really good. We put up 28 points against the Lions. They put up more than 28 points against the Lions in a couple weeks ago. They just beat the Vikings the other week. Like, this team is actually good. It's just the coaching is just so bad. The potential is there. It's just the coaching is holding them back. So coaching is definitely the problem for the Bears for sure.
Yeah, my hot take here is that Ryan Poles is going to be the GM next year, and Justin Fields is going to be your quarterback. And
Yeah,
for all the Bears that are like, oh, you got to credit Eberflus because he made life really bad for Jared Goff on Sunday.
he did.
And
He did.
he did a good job with his side of the ball. I mean, that is not a lot of points to give up to that Detroit offense. And yeah, we have to talk about Detroit because they're one of the four teams that we consider serious in the NFC, and they just haven't been themselves in over a month. It has been a while. The team that they were in the beginning of the year and who they are right now is not the same. And Detroit is I don't want to say they're panicking because they're still going to win their division most likely, but it's like, what's the goal here? Is it just to make the playoffs? Of course not. So the ultimate prize, it seemed at one point, the Lions, it seemed like it could be something that was obtainable. Right now, not so much. So
yes,
I think, and a lot of people may not know this, but Sean Payton actually, Dan Campbell worked alongside him, underneath him for a long time. So in New Orleans. So they're playing Saturday night, and they asked Dan Campbell about it, and does the game mean more to you? And he was like, I know Sean Payton's going to come here and try to embarrass us. So we have to make sure we're ready for that, and we will be ready. And I was like, oh shit, this game is going to be fucking lit.
Yeah.
But you do have Detroit with their back against the wall. So appreciate you putting them in that situation for us, Rick. This is exactly how we want to go on the road and play an angry team that's very capable.
I will say what you said at the beginning, right? Like, the Lions are playing scared. Dude, it just seems like when Dan Campbell's going for it on fourth down, like every fourth down in every quarter, it's like you can't rely on these, like, oh, this big fourth down conversion that is all of a sudden going to turn it around, right? Like, you have got to play that small ball in a sense, right? Like, punt the ball away, get better field position for your defense against this offense. Huh?
Don't panic.
Don't panic. Exactly. And it sucks because I still do, in a sense, want the Lions to succeed because they've got a lot of good players on their squad. They've got Dan Campbell there, a guy who gives a shit. David Montgomery is an ex-Bear.
His brother's on that team.
Who's
St. Brown? Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, there you go. Equinemius is St. Brown's brother. Yeah. Like they've got good players, and they have sucked for so long that the city of Detroit and that football team really needs this. But dude, like it almost seems like Dan Campbell, like you said, is just panicking and really wants those big plays to turn the game over completely. And we've said it before on this podcast. You got to get the points. You got to do the smart stuff to win the game at the end of the day. That's how you do it.
And not to go on about this too long, but that's the difference from what I saw last year with Nathaniel Hackett was this desperation to, like, we need to fix all of our season's mistakes in one big play.
Yes.
And you just build so much pressure on every single play that, of course, we can't take the field goal. Of course, you can't take the points. And this year, I've seen a Coleman Collective coach take advantage of having good field position, punt the ball when he doesn't, kick the field goal when points are available, and he's won 6 of 7. And no, it is not fun. And at times during these games, it does feel like you're not good enough. But guess what? By the end of the game, you have a ton of points. And that is something I have a problem with what Staley's doing. And we'll get to that game in a second.
For sure.
Our next game is the Indianapolis Colts. Ginger might want to tune this part out. The Indianapolis Colts, Jake Browning's really good. The Indianapolis Colts got by the Bengals. Jake Browning gets the job done again, ladies and gentlemen. Browning had a magical Monday night performance, and we found out it wasn't a fluke. For the second week straight, Browning executed Cincinnati's offense efficiently, and he looks like a pro, dude. I'm watching him out there. He makes good reads. He throws good balls. He seems like kind of Joe Burrow-ish.
Yeah.
We talk about this Tom Brady thing, but man, I definitely think he's got a starting job in the NFL if he keeps this up, and the Bengals are definitely a contender. Any of these teams that are really, really loaded, the Bills, the Bengals, those are all your wild card teams,
Hmm.
and your Colts and your. I mean, the Browns are another team, but I don't think Joe Flacco has it in him, man. So we'll get to that. But sticking on this game right now, the Bengals do look like one of those teams that can make a late season push with the results that they're getting from Jake Browning.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive what he's doing. We talked about how this season is on drugs, and Crafty put that stat up where you got Tommy DeVito, Joe Flacco, and this guy named Jake Browning lighting up the scoreboard in terms of QBs. He did really well this game, man. Like 275 yards, couple touchdowns, passing and a rushing touchdown. He was out for a little bit of that game. AJ McCarron came in and threw a pass. It looked like he may be out, but he was dehydrated. He went out, got an IV, came back in the game, and was able to keep the Bengals. Yeah, he was fucking hammered. He went on a 5-day like binge after that, starting that game for the Bengals earlier last week. But he came back in. He's a trooper. He's a soldier. He came back in and was able to win that game. Not even win that game. He dominated that game against the Colts. The Colts defense gives up a lot of points, and you usually can balance that with the Colts offense putting up a lot of points. That was not the case today for the Colts, man. They were unable to put up as much points as they usually have been this season. I think they're still in the top 3 in terms of NFL for scoring offense in terms of points. Obviously, they were not able to do that, and the defense for the Bengals came up big because really the Bengals are still playing for a playoff spot. Whether you like it or not, they're 7-6 now. And in the AFC, that is a good record to have, right? Like the Broncos are 7-6, but how they've done it is like ridiculous compared to these other 7-6 teams, right? But it's still a good record to have, and it's still keeping you alive in the playoff push. But yeah, Gardner Minshew today, I mean, not a bad game by Minshew, 240 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. It's just that the Bengals were able to kind of, I want to say like the preparation for Gardner Minshew was very, very good this week for the Bengals. And you gotta give a lot of credit to head coach. I always forget his name for the Bengals. Zach Taylor. Like, you got to give them a lot of credit, man. They were able to do just that. Really kind of put a stranglehold on the Colts offense, and they just ran wild on their defense.
Joe Flacco is the hero, but Jake Browning is the villain. Jake Browning is the villain because it's when the rich get richer, everyone's like, of course Joe Burrow's backup is fucking Jake Brown.
Amazing, yeah.
Of course Tom Brady's backup is Jimmy Garoppolo, and this great play. Meanwhile, you got Pittsburgh in their own division, that can't find a quarterback that they like. It is so funny. Yeah, dude. I'm just gonna take for that whole division. I'm taking it week by week. I'm not getting too high or too low on any team. That goes for the Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers. I'm already pretty low on, but still, because of their record, they're in striking distance of turning, getting into the playoffs. So the only, and then the Ravens. I mean, we know who the Ravens are. So
yeah,
I'm taking this whole division week to week right now, but this is
honestly,
the right time of year to be winning football games. And Jake Browning looks like they're going to have, a good amount of wins in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they were going to be able to keep him as a backup, depending on how good he is. I mean, if he's this good, then he can't be a backup. He's got to go somewhere else. I mean, he looks
Yeah.
great. But maybe that's Zach Taylor. Maybe he's not getting enough credit. You know what I mean? For
Mm-hmm.
the way he's been able to use Jake Browning and keep him comfortable in the game. But it just looks like they're able to do things that they would normally do with Joe Burrow. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
look like they're like, okay, we can only call these plays like how the Jets are with Zach Wilson. It
Yeah.
seems like everything's available. And they just might had like a hidden diamond here with this Jake Browning guy. But
Mm-hmm.
our next game is kind of like that, but it's in the Hero Ball game where Joe Flacco comes back out of retirement and finally maybe gets that Super Bowl he's always wanted. He's never played with a defense like this. Wait, yeah, he has. He did, and he did in 2012, and they won the Super Bowl. And Joe Flacco now is playing for Cleveland. Honestly, there's a little part of me, I don't know why I'm like rooting for this, but I'm also not, because they're competing in that wild card spot. But there's a little part of me that's just kind of happy about this whole Joe Flacco thing. And I don't know what their ceiling is, but Joe Flacco looks a lot better in Cleveland than he did any of his other 4 stops. The Jets, I think he was a Jet for a while, and then he was a Bronco
Where?
and some other
Oh,
teams.
that's right. Yeah, he was a
Bronco
Bronco.
he got benched by like week 10. We're like, we'll try Drew Lock.
Thanks, dude.
You don't have to travel with the team anymore. Just worry about neck injury. And there wasn't a neck injury, but dude, it's just funny how sometimes timing is everything. And it seems like Joe Flacco in Cleveland, it's just one of those things where the universe has aligned in a great way for everybody involved.
Yeah, dude. I just can't believe what's going on in Cleveland, man. It's you go from Deshaun Watson to Dorian Thompson Robinson to PJ Walker to now Joe Flacco. They had to call him up. They had to get somebody, right? And then Joe Flacco, like you said, looks damn fucking good in this Cleveland stop of his retirement tour or whatever. He threw for what, 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards. Like, he had a game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was going up against toe to toe with Trevor Lawrence, and he made Trevor Lawrence look bad in this game, right? Almost 400 yards of offense from this Browns team, which not a lot of what we've seen so far this season from that Browns offense. Like, there's been games where they're like over 300, so blah, 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 blah. But we're really just ranting and raving about their defense, which is pretty damn good today. They got 3 picks off of Trevor Lawrence. But that's usually the story with the Browns, is like, man, their defense is really good today. They scored 13 and won 13-10, but their defense, was really good. So it's just kind of crazy to see them score 31 points and beat a division leader in the Jaguars. And obviously the Jaguars dealing with their own issues. Trevor Lawrence did get injured. There was no card in sight on that one game, that primetime game, when he walked to the fucking locker room, which is like a half a mile away. But he came back in this game, and he, for the most part, played pretty well. He still had his team in a position to win. Fortunately, those 3 picks really cost him. They still scored 13 in the 4th quarter, but was not enough to beat the Browns. So Jags right now losing 2 in a row, and both of those coming against backup quarterbacks. And again, all the credit to Browning and Flacco, but that gives that just raises a lot of questions about that defense. The defense really was pretty damn good, for a lot of weeks during the season, for the Jags. But as of recently, I don't know what's been going on. I don't know what their injury status is or isn't, but against 2 backup quarterbacks, one that's like, 68 years old in the Browns, like
Dude,
you got to be able
you're
to
gonna be
take
that old
advantage of
in
that.
like 4 years.
You said what?
I said you're gonna be that old in like 4 years.
That's why I could say it. It's just, there's a lot of questions being raised about this defense
Fossil,
right now.
Joe Fossil.
The guy with 1 foot in the grave beat them.
Yeah, dude. It's look, 8 of 11, 133 yards. Let's not act like he's going out there. Like, I still think the one thing that might make this work is that this is a great defense. So
Mhm.
Joe Flacco is going to have a lot of opportunities to get on the field because of the Browns defense.
Mhm.
And 8 of 11, I mean, oh, that was just play action. Okay.
Yeah, just play action.
Bro, I was over here like, oh my God, I guess I didn't see the game as well as I thought I did. He only went 8 of 11, which isn't bad. But no, okay, just play action. Okay, never
Yeah,
mind. Disregard. Let's move on. The New Orleans Saints taking on
love
the
it.
worst team in the league, the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Saints won. Panthers suck. That's all I got.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're the Saints, you're like, God, I wish we would have won last week because we'd be leading the division again. We're back to the AFC South, dude. This or NFC South, this division is absolute
Dog.
dog shit. It is the most dog shit division. There's really not much else to say. Bryce Young looked like shit. This whole Panthers team is looking really bad. Again, I love it because the Bears have their first round pick. But they look bad. Nothing's going right now for this Panthers team. It's sad. For the Saints, Derek Carr looked decent. I called them division winners when they traded for Carr. They signed them, whatever. This Derek Carr, I don't know what happened between the drive from Las Vegas to New Orleans. He's lost it. He has lost whatever it is he had. He has lost it. So the Saints are going to win this division anymore. I don't know what to say. This game was dog shit.
Yeah, totally. Just absolute, unequivocal, smelly dog
Dog
shit.
shit.
But I mean, what do you expect? The Panthers, I put it up on the screen. They lost their sixth straight for the second time this season. So they have one win sandwiched between
Sandwiched.
2 6 loss streaks, which is
Jesus Christ.
insane. They're just not a good team this year. And I don't know. We'll see if anybody can come fix it. To me, this feels like a bad situation because although some people might be really high on Bryce Young, if the next coach isn't, all of a sudden this gets really tricky because everybody's talking about the Bears drafting another quarterback. What if the offensive guru that they bring in, some big hire, what if the first thing he says is Bryce Young's not for me? And we have, they don't have a number 1 overall pick because they gave it to the Bears. Never mind. They won't even have the option. Oh man, just trying to give a storyline to this Panthers. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, and the best option they've got, if that is the case, and Tepper, the owner, and the GM, and everybody is so in line with the new head coach, the new coaching staff, where they don't want Bryce Young, the best option they got is trying to trade him for a first round pick to somebody who thinks they can unlock Bryce Young. And look, again, Bryce Young, rookie season, shitty team, shitty kind of weapons around him, old, not really number 1, number 2 wide receivers, really kind of like a throwaway. But he's looked so bad. He's just looked bad. So I get it.
Dog shit.
Dog shit.
I will say CJ Stroud's looked good all season long.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson has looked like dog shit, but the reset does good for Zach Wilson. He comes out, plays really good football. And I mentioned this in our predictions.
Mm-hmm.
I said the reset, I always expect a little surge when that player comes out. I think we saw that from Drew Lock a little bit against the 49ers. There's such thing as quarterbacks that are very, very talented and just very gifted. But when the stars don't align, they can't make up for it with their IQ or their pocket awareness. There's a couple things in there that are like, whoa, look at that. But then it's like the movie trailer is really good, but if you watch the movie, it sucks. That's what Zach Wilson's like, a great movie trailer. No look pass, great arm. But when you sit down and watch the whole movie, it's not great. But this was one of those games where Zach Wilson, has his first 300-yard passing game
Yeah.
this season, and it was his finest performance of the year easily. And whatever that means for his future, I'm not sure. But maybe this is the Zach Wilson the Jets were hoping for when they drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that all just very, very astonishing, like that at this point in his career. And I hope he did turn a corner, but I consider him and Drew Lock kind of that guy where
Mm-hmm.
they can have a game like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the consistency you worry about. But luckily he'll have a chance because he earned the job next week now.
Mm-hmm.
It was a no-brainer for Saleh after the game, but he's earned that opportunity to try to build on this to close the year.
Yeah, 100%. And the shit that Zach Wilson has gone through this season, understandably so. He's put it on himself. He's just not performed to what is expected of him where he was drafted, first round, top 5 pick or whatever. To do this, after like a week of like, I don't know, there was a bunch of controversy on him being like, no, I'm not going to fucking be benched. He was benched 3 times this year. I mean, what do you mean he's over here saying he's not going to be benched? He's been benched. There's been no I guess controversy around that. He's been benched. They will bench him if they want to. For him to come out with a game like this is great for him. It's great for the Jets in terms of morale for the team. And it's great tape for him moving forward, right? Like you said. So good on him. He was able to get, I believe it was 2 touchdowns. Yep, 2 touchdowns over 300 yards. This whole team as a whole on the offense, especially was doing work, man. And at home they were able to get this win against the very impressive Texans team who's coming off a very big win, unfortunately, against your Broncos. But they were able to. Kyle's like, shut the fuck up. We moved on. But it's an impressive win. Impressive win nonetheless for the Jets and the defense, especially. We've talked about the defense for the Jets for the last 2 full seasons and what they can do, and they did just that against the Texans. CJ Stroud did get injured during this game, but that was with about a little over 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter of this game. So for 3.5 quarters, he couldn't do anything, man. That just shows how well this defense played against CJ Stroud, who for pretty much, I don't know, I guess at the end of it, when it's said and done, he'll probably win Offensive Rookie of the Year or Rookie of the Year, whatever it is the awards are.
Definitely.
He's definitely going to win an award, right? Like he has to, how well he has played. So for the defense on the Jets side, to be able to do that to a guy who is coming off a very good last few weeks, impressive on the defense, because we've seen this Jets defense in a sense give up. Like they got mad points scored against them week in, week out, and they're supposed to be this amazing unit, but for them to kind of do that to CJ Stroud, just very impressive. And as far as the Texans, I mean, again, what can you do offensively against a very good defense when they're playing at their full potential? You get nothing. It's exactly what the Texans did. You scored 6 points in the third quarter, and that's it. So big loss for the Texans, I will say. And, just a kind of a morale boosting win for the Jets, but big loss for the Texans in week 14.
All right, time for our game of the week. The Minnesota Vikings stumble into Las Vegas to take on the red hot Las Vegas Raiders. The Vikings survive an ugly battle of nothing, just an entire goose egg for the entire time. By the way, Sunday's 3-0 final was the 8th such score in an NFL game since 1950. So if you didn't think you were getting one-of-a-kind content this year, this hasn't happened since your mom's mom was born. For some of the people on the channel, your mom's mom. This is 73 years since we have seen a game like this. I mean, this is incredible. Josh Dobbs finished with a completion percentage over expected of negative 16.1 before getting benched. And by the way, I told you guys I wasn't as high on Josh Dobbs as everybody was freaking out about this guy. Tyler was like, he's the thug. No, he had a really good play.
He was a pastronaut.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, everybody is such a victim of the moment, but when you
Yes.
watch enough football and you do, what you and I do for 2 years now, you
Hmm.
really grow to be less reactionary, and just like, "Yeah, but this happens all the time. Let's see if he can do it for 2, 3 weeks."
Hmm.
And that they ended up getting benched for Nick Mullins. That should tell you. And Nick Mullins, for everybody that's like Brock Purdy's not good. Remember, Nick Mullins went in for Kyle Shanahan, and he couldn't use Nick Mullins or Trey Lance or Jimmy G the
Yeah.
way that Brock Purdy was used. But look, you see Josh Dobbs getting benched for Nick Mullins here. That's just they can't get anything going, man. That was the lowest completion percentage over expected by a Vikings quarterback since
Jesus.
in the next gen stat era. It originated
Hmm.
in 2016. We don't know, before then, but
Oh
we do know
God.
this has never happened before. This game was freaking ugly. This was my don't touch it. And now that I see the score, I'm going to say don't even look at it.
Hmm. This game totaled 431 offensive yards. Total. Total.
Dog shit.
Dog shit. um, there was an excitement going into this game because Justin Jefferson was finally going to be back in this lineup, and me obviously start him in my lineup because that was my number one overall pick. You can't not start him. What happens? He gets injured again. Unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about my fantasy squad when a player gets injured. It's just unfortunate because he came in. It was exciting. He was going to try to be that guy for Dobbs. Fortunately, he gets injured. It sucks for Justin Jefferson because he's such a dynamic guy. And really, it's just if not for the organization and the fans, like for Justin Jefferson, like what's going to happen now, right? Like obviously he's going to sit the rest of the season, and hopefully it's not a serious injury again. But you've got to be done. Like as the Vikings, you're kind of like saying, "All right, man, well you tried." No, you're our best person in this building right now. You're shut down. So there was that excitement, and it kind of just whatever happened. Other than that, yeah, dude, it sucked when you got Josh Dobbs being benched for a guy named Nick Mullins who what was gonna be the starter in San
For a
Francisco and
guy
not
named Nick Mullins.
like you go from
Every
a
Nick out there,
pastronaut.
like, what the fuck?
Hey, what a dick. Um, you go from pastronaut to Nick Mullins. It's like, okay, yeah, we're not doing very hot right now. You know what I mean? And that the same goes for the Raiders on the other side. Nothing was being done in this game offensively. This is like one of those games where you look at what they're doing offensively and you're the NFL and you're Roger Goodell. You're like, this is exactly why we call every penalty when somebody hits a quarterback, because we need one of these motherfuckers to do something. Like this is a boring
Somebody.
fucking game. Yeah. Somebody do something. Um, Good job on Greg Joseph with the only offense at all in this game. But credit to the defenses, man. We always talk shit about the Vikings defense, about the Raiders defense. And for the most part, who were they playing? Two backups and a rookie quarterback. Okay, we'll give them that much, but there's not much to say about this game, dude. It was boring as shit.
Yep, and I won't force you to keep talking about it. The 49ers playing the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers have Seattle's number, and
Yes.
that streak would continue. And I think the over under was like San Francisco minus 13, and
They got it.
they got it. They got it. No, they didn't get
Actually,
it.
they didn't. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
because they won by 12. But
Math.
I was saying, I was like, I trust the 49ers to cover, but it's the NFL. That's too much points. This is exactly like a great explanation of that. Like these type of games where like one team's going to win, but you're not sure how much they can win by.
Mm-hmm.
But the Seahawks, they go down with a fourth straight loss. This is another big playoff setback for them. The
Yeah.
first 4-game losing streak during the Pete Carroll era. And I wanted to say really quick, shout out Pete Carroll for going, I don't know, over a decade in not having a 4-game losing streak, because
Yes.
that I feel like I've experienced a ton of 4-game losing
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I'm like, could you imagine like 10 years and that hasn't happened? That's good coaching. But the Rams losing Sunday definitely helped a little bit, but the Vikings winning didn't. So Seattle's now 1-4 versus the NFC West, 5-5 versus conference opponents, and still has to face the Eagles next week, plus 2 more road games. I don't think Seattle's going to be able to get in the playoffs, and I think for the 49ers, they're so good that playing a hungry Seattle team is like just, I don't want to say a bye week, but
Mhm.
a double digit win easily, even when the
Yeah.
49ers didn't have their best game. Because you would go a long time with nothing, then all of a sudden something explosive would happen. There's just so much talent on this team. Brock Purdy did have 1 pick, but the Niners just keep on rolling, baby.
It's crazy to say like a hungry Seattle team was not much for the 49ers. They won by double digits, but you look at this and you're like, oh, the Niners only scored 28. Like that's an actual thought that was going through my head. And even against the Seattle team, like you said, a hungry team who's, trying to get into the playoffs for the second year in a row, they're trying to squeeze in there. But it's just insanity how good this 49ers team is this year. Just Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy is doing so well with all his weapons, which is an argument I had with a buddy over like a few days.
You guys got in a fight?
Fist 100%.
Did you
Come
beat
on,
him up?
32, dude. I go up the stairs too fast. I'm out of breath.
Would you say no, Drew Lock? Fuck you. Mr. Trubisky wasn't a bust. He wasn't a bust.
It was honestly in reference to like MVP talk, and in in my head, I'm like, you can have all the weapons, right? But what are you doing with those weapons as a quarterback? I think a good quarterback is going to be able to get it to all his weapons, which is exactly what Brock Purdy does, man. I mean, just looking at everything, right? 7 receptions for Samuels, 6 for Ayuk, 3 for Kittle. All those over 70 yards. All 3 of those guys over 70 yards. You still got CMC running it. You've got Brock Purdy running it, Mason running it. Like, you've got so many weapons, but if you can't spread the ball out and you're not scoring points, then you don't deserve all those weapons. But Brock Purdy knows exactly what to do. We talk about the system that Kyle Shanahan has set up for all these quarterbacks. Oh, you input this guy, he's going to win. You put in this guy. Dude, Trey Lance struggled. Jimmy G, he's had some injury issues. He even struggled a little bit. And now you look at Brock Purdy and what he was able to do the tail end of last year into the playoffs and this entire season, minus that 3-game losing streak. It's like, oh, yeah, this is how you do it with all these weapons. Sometimes you're lucky that your number 1 receiver gets 5 looks. You know what I mean? DJ Moore. You're lucky that he gets those 5 looks in a game, and you're just like, see what happens when you give it to your fucking guy. This guy's just got a plethora of players, and this defense too on the 49ers squad. This team is so dominant. They're gonna go into the playoffs and they're going to roll. They're going to have a bye week, which a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, was that a good thing? Was that a bad thing? They're probably just going to continue to roll. And if they don't, it'll be the biggest surprise in the NFL this season, because there's been a ton of surprises, and yet that will be the biggest one for Seattle. God, 3 weeks ago, I was like, no, they'll be fine. They're going to be a wild card. It's going to be fine. Dude, what the Rams have been doing, how Seattle's been getting beat, it's like, oh shit, they are not fine. They are probably not going to get into the playoffs. Again, the stat with Pete Carroll about no 4-game losing streaks in a decade, impressive. But shit, man, this was the year that it had to happen. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, god damn it. The Rams are all of a sudden good. The Niners are fucking steamrolling everybody. You have to play the Cowboys, the Eagles. You have a gauntlet of your last third of the season, and it just sucks. So it sucks for the Seahawks to 3 weeks ago be in a position where you were like, oh no, I think they'll be fine, to we're fucked. Who's in the draft at our draft position? Who can we get? That's kind of what they're looking at now.
Yeah, in everything you said about the 49ers, I just wanted to say,
can't agree more.
Can't agree more.
Love it.
All right, Rick. Our next game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Patrick Mahomes.
What a fucking intro.
Patrick Mahomes pissed off because Kadarius Toney. What did he do, Rick? I think
Over this line. Just step over that line.
Over any line. Huh?
Oh, you stepped over the line.
Step over a line.
You stepped over the line.
the line. And Patrick Mahomes wants to be everybody else besides Kadarius Toney. By the way, I found like 5 other plays where he was stepping over the line.
He doesn't stop fucking up.
He doesn't stop fucking up. And by the way, I'm also mad that that play didn't happen. And I get the frustration, but he's directing it not towards the right person. He's directing it towards the refs, and it should be directed towards Kadarius Toney because, dude, I watched that play happen in real life and shit my pants. I've seen laterals, but with 1 minute and 50 seconds left, like for Travis Kelce to just throw the ball 20 yards.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And I was so mad that there was a flag on it because it was such a great play. But Kadarius Toney was clearly offsides. And the fact of the matter is, like, the ref, you can't get mad at the ref for calling a penalty. They're already under so much scrutiny with everything going on this year. Now you want to add into the equation that, hey, in situational football, you don't have to throw it in these situations. It just makes everything way more messy. The best thing to do is just to call the game on the rules. And maybe the ref should, warn Kadarius Toney but it's not their responsibility. You know what I mean? It's like, should they have done it? Maybe, but it's not the ref's responsibility to do that. And the fact that Mahomes is actually angry about that really makes him look like an entitled little brat. Like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Say bitch.
An entitled little bitch. Like, I mean, could you imagine? I mean, dude, you won a Super Bowl because of a bullshit call just in February. Like, you won the AFC Championship because you got hit late out of bounds that made you in field goal range. Like, you've benefited from the refs a ton, and now you're not only trying. I mean, you are literally trying to benefit from the refs. You're not even saying like there was pass interference. It was a missed call. That's bullshit. I get all that. You are literally trying to tell the refs that they shouldn't have called a penalty when Kadarius Toney is offsides. Like, I can't get with that. Like, I'm one to really like be like, fuck the refs. I'm with the players because they do miss calls. And I know there was a missed call and a 2-point conversion in the Commanders game week 3, and Denver lost that game. That might be a really important game. So when you're mad in those moments, you are justified in it. But this one, he's not justified in it at all. This makes no sense to me. The fact that he is having to be held back and really his angle in general is just, it's all dumb. It's all dumb. I think it's embarrassing, and I think it's a bad look on him. And I don't like the Chiefs, but I'm not I don't hate Mahomes. I enjoy watching him play. I enjoy greatness at any level. I always want him to lose if he's playing Denver or something like that. But
of course,
ultimately, like, I don't want to see Mahomes in this light at all. And I think it's a bad look.
Yeah, and really that call and what happened after really cast a shadow over this game, right? And even the shit that was that popped off before with Sean McDermott and the whole like 9/11 terrorist thing, comparing like how they came together. It's like, what the fuck? This game, like, when you talk Bills Chiefs, you're like, this is gonna be one of those good fucking games, blah blah blah, this and that. And then you see what happens prior and then after, and you're like, what? What happened? Like the hype was supposed to be about Mahomes versus Allen, the offense versus offense, score versus score, 13 seconds in the AFC divisional 2 years ago. Like, and everything else that happened around it was like, oh my God, this is like, what is this, TMZ now? Like, what's going on? this game was really good. Regardless of what happened with that play, and the Bills came out on top with a dub. Finally being able to beat like a team worth a damn, really, right late in the season after they've lost several games against teams that have completely underperformed this year. But again, this whole thing overshadows the entire game. What happened in the week before was Sean McDermott. Someone came out with the fact that Sean McDermott was trying to rally his team together by asking them about the 9/11 terrorists and how they came together to create this plan to hijack planes and blah, 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 doing all that shit. And people were confused. Like, why are you trying to give a rah-rah speech about and including terrorists? Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's also weird. Like, how did this come up?
Yeah, like,
who's the whistleblower on this random ass story?
Also that too, but it's also like, were you just watching the 9/11 documentary or what's going on, man? But who's whistleblowing too? That kind of sucks, and it sucks that someone said that, but it's also like
the Navy says that the United States military, I can 100% say in boot camp, uses that as a technique to say, y'all motherfuckers better get organized because these motherfuckers, Al Qaeda, whoever, they're very fucking organized. And like it is definitely a headline that when it's released, you're like, that's not good. And no, it's not one that I would use personally. My judgment is I wouldn't say that, but I'm not going to pretend it doesn't exist. You know, that those type of conversations do happen. But I mean, no, that sounds like I'm saying like I talk about terrorists. I don't. I'm just saying.
But like, it's like use the one about the passengers who together to take over the plane
Flight
and crash
92 or whatever.
Flight 93, 94, whatever.
Yeah.
Use that one, you psycho. Use fucking that one. And then the game happens. That wild play happens, like you said. Like, you want that play to happen because it's so fucking awesome. Like, there is nothing else cooler than something like that happening, and then it gets taken away by a flag, and you're like, no, why? And yes, I know, like I said, you are one of those people that are like, I can appreciate greatness at any level, and you can appreciate the play for what it was, and so can all NFL fans, right? Except probably Bills fans. But it's just like shit for that to get taken away. Now the shit afterwards, you got Mahomes coming up to Josh Allen. That was a bullshit play, blah, 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 in the handshake. Don't do that in the handshake, dude.
I didn't even go in on that.
Like, don't do that in the handshake. That is not what the handshake's for. You go up to him like, hey, man, good game. Good game. Yeah, Salah hates when people say this because of Hard Knocks during the offseason, but you played us tough. No. I don't want that. I just want a good game, pat on the back, handshake, see you next time. We'll get you next time, shit like that. That's what you do in the handshake. You don't go and you complain about the play. Patrick Mahomes, I feel like I think I know what happened with Mahomes in this situation. Not only during the when the flag was called, not only during the handshake, but afterwards in the press conferences and stuff like that. How many times have we seen Mahomes stick up for his players when they drop passes, when they commit penalties, when they just, all around suck? And he's like, I could have been better. This was his fucking boiling point, man. Like, and credit to him for being professional, and also not credit to him for being unprofessional. But there is a point for a person where you're just like, I can't contain this anymore. I have to let it out. And unfortunately for him, it happened during the sidelines after the flag was thrown, during the handshake, and all the pressers afterwards. And Andy Reid too, man. Like, you don't throw that. It's situational football. Fuck out of here. Situational football, my ass, dude. You guys have benefited. Too many teams have benefited. Just like you said, Kyle, so many teams have benefited from situational football calls that go in their favor that end up them winning a game, whether it be a playoff game, a Super Bowl, a big game to get a division title, anything like that. That's the shit that happens. The refs have came out, or the NFL has come out and said, we could have called it 4 or 5 times this game. We could call holding every play. We could call offsides every play. We can call pass interference every play. It just the way the cookie crumbled, man. Like, it is what it is. You got to go away with the L, knowing you still have the division lead for now. But you still have the division lead and you still got a winning record. take your losses, get the fuck out of the casino, call it a day.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be a little bit like the Karate Kid with Will Smith's son, Jaden Smith, I think. Like there's all those lessons in the movie where he comes over, and I've only seen it once, so and it was a while ago, but I know you would like come over and you'd be like, I'm ready to start, and they're like, where you are starting, just stay. I forget what he had him doing, but it wasn't karate. It
It was
was
like
like
waxing or cleaning the car or something.
yeah, and then one time it was like just standing still. You know what I mean? Like trying to break him mentally for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But there's a lesson to be learned in like the irony that the most explosive play I've ever seen on a football field happened, but they couldn't do the littlest thing right. They couldn't stay on sides. And I think if they allow themselves to kind of soak in this, there's a moral in that, you know, in the details, the fundamentals, that they can have the explosive if they're going to be able to not make mental mistakes like that. Like, look what they can, you know, look at the potential they have if they're not shooting themselves in the foot constantly. And I think that's going to be, you know, hindsight 2020. That's going to come in the next couple of days. And I even think you're going to get an apology from Mahomes eventually.
I think he did. He did say something about like how I reacted was bad.
Oh, did
so
he?
He did say something recently. Yeah.
Well, fuck him. I'm kidding. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Love that.
6 of our last 7. 6 of our last 7. This is not a fluke. This is who the Denver Broncos are. I feel like every time we watch the Denver Broncos play, we know what we're going to get. We're going to get great defense that flies around and makes hits. Oh, man, dude. I'm loving this defense so much right now. I was watching the DNVR podcast because on Tuesdays they normally have Sertan on. Today they had Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton, our 2 linebackers. And they were just giving me so much like information that only a player would know. Like, oh man, Jonathan Cooper, who had a sack in this game, he was like, he's crazy. Like, I don't even go up to him pregame because he was walking around angry, like just, you know, in his zone. And he's like, and he'll headbutt you and he'll like, it hurts. He's like, I don't like his headbutts. And I'm just like, dude, we have like a culture of just dogs on defense. Like, just walking around fucking just jack to go out there and fly around and smack people in the face. Like, this defense is nasty. They are knocking every quarterback out that they play. That's like a reoccurring theme. And not to say like that's a good thing, but it does show how physical the defense is. Now, offensively, there's still these moments that you look and you see Jerry Jeudy wide open down the field and they're just a little bit off. I do think in order for the Broncos to make a real push, Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy need to get on the same page. Just like when Jeudy caught that touchdown, but he didn't have his feet down. They're just off. The timing is just a little bit off. They need to get on the same page like Cortland Sutton is. Sean Payton said he's not worried about it. He said Jeudy had opportunities to make plays today. He's like, I know you guys keep asking me about it, but I'm not worried about it. And you don't have to worry about it when you're in control of the game and you dominate a team. Now, the Texans did beat us, but like I said, Denver didn't play a good game of football. The fact that they had a chance to win that game late is actually encouraging. But the 2 other games that we've seen in our last 3 games, the Chargers and the Browns, both really, you know, they're not the Patriots. And Denver dominated both of them. They didn't just kind of beat the Browns or the Chargers. I mean, they just completely dominated them. The score doesn't tell at all. Denver had a touchdown that was called back, 2 touchdowns that were called back, a punt return or a fumble return for a touchdown that was called back through a challenge.
Yeah.
This could have been a way more ugly game, but Denver, to me, looks like one of the very few AFC teams that I feel like I can trust week in and week out. I feel like I know who Denver is, and here it is. They're well coached. That's the difference. We started this game, the first play, Russell Wilson threw an interception. Was not Russell Wilson's fault. He threw the ball to Marvin Mims and what's his name?
I'm seeing
Safety,
it here.
43, Derwin James. Derwin James comes up and hits him and rips the
Yeah.
ball out of his hands. So technically, it's an interception.
Davis
Okay.
made the interception. Yeah.
Okay. Derwin James, or was it Davis?
Oh no, you're talking about the interception to Marvin Mims in the red zone.
Yeah.
It was Davis who intercepted it.
Okay. Then I think Derwin James made the hit then. Anyway,
okay.
The thing is the Chargers took the ball from Denver, and the Chargers started with the ball. They had a 3-and-out. They punted it to Denver. Denver's first play was an interception. The Chargers get on the field. First down, they get a good run. Second down, good run. Third down, don't convert. Fourth down, go for it and decide not to kick the field goal. And I'm sitting there laughing because I've been watching the Broncos for a long time, but I'm saying the 6 out of 7 games that they've won, I've watched Denver take those kicks.
Yeah.
They said, don't take the kick. If they can intercept Russell Wilson on the 10-yard line and not turn that into any points, that's on them. And shame on them if you're a Chargers fan for not knowing what kind of game you're in with Denver, because Denver's going to take those field goals. So they've shown you that all season long. Sean Payton does not leave, the 35 and forward without at least 3. He's not going for it. He doesn't gamble like that. You see Staley 0 for 5 on 4th down in this game, constantly trying to go for it and get it all back in one play. Had they took those field goals when they had the opportunity, this game could have been a close game. But Sean Payton, this game is just like Cleveland in the way where Denver out-coached these two teams. Out-coached Staley completely, and the same thing happened with I'm blanking on his name right now in Cleveland. So, man, we haven't had a coach like this in a very long time. Sean Payton might be the second best coach. He's the second highest paid coach in the NFL, and he has turned this entire team around. He's turned the culture around. We now expect to win as a fan base. That is crazy when you start the season 1-5 and you get to number 11 in the power rankings and you become, in my opinion, look, we talk about the wild card. Denver's 1 game back from Kansas City for the division. And that's what I love today when Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell said, somebody said, I think your first playoff game is going to be in Miami taking on the Dolphins. And they both looked at each other. This was genuine. This was not planned. And he goes, you don't think we're going to host a game?
Woo,
and I was like, let's go.
Let's go.
Fucking go, dude. I was so jacked. I get chills right now because I'm like, this team really believes. Like, then the super chat came in that was like $20. That's like, don't even worry about the division. Just take it 1 game at a time. And he said like the Chiefs own that spot. And even Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton were like, y'all act like the Chiefs are going to like they already earned that spot with a 1 game lead with the whole season left.
Yeah.
And really, when you look at the Chiefs and the way they're playing and the games that they're losing, I don't think the Chiefs are a better team right now at this point in the season right now.
At this particular moment in time,
I think Denver is the second best team in the AFC from what I'm seeing. Even like the way Miami couldn't close against Tennessee, like there's just been enough. I've seen enough. No other team has won their 6 of their last 7.
I could not agree with you more. I could not agree with what they said about you guys think the Chiefs have earned the spot, because I'm looking at it. You guys are a win away from the division lead or from being tied with the division leader in the Chiefs, dude. Like, it could absolutely happen. The Broncos have the best, I think, chances right now of getting that division dub in the AFC at 7-6, because kind of like you have down in the ticker, the 5-game winning streak ended. That does not mean the momentum is ended for the Broncos to go forward. And especially in this game, I think they snapped a streak of how many times they've lost in a row on the road to the AFC West division teams.
That was your first win in SoFi ever.
Yeah, it's insane what you guys are doing this year. And again, you talked about Sean Payton turning the culture around. You guys expect to win. Your defense is doing really well, and your offense is complementing the defense with what Russell Wilson and Cortland Sutton, what the fuck they're doing, dude. 46-yard bomb to the back of the end zone with a one-hander. Like, insane how these like circus catches, like how well Cortland Sutton is doing. I think I read this is the first time a Denver Broncos wide receiver has 10 touchdowns in a season since your Thomases were on the Broncos. Demarius and the other guy, Julian, right?
Julius Thomas.
Yeah, Julius Thomas. Since that
was with Manning.
Yeah, so that was a while ago. And Cortland Sutton and Russ are doing it, and they're doing it in like fucking tightrope style, you know, like he's got he's got his 2 feet in, but like just the toes. It's ridiculous what they're doing, man. And to beat the Chargers 24-7, yes, without a Herbert, just like that. Yep, 100%. Even without a Herbert, like, it's still impressive what you guys are doing. 5-game winning streak where you beat the Bills and you beat the Chiefs. Yeah, you know, you're destroying the Chargers over here. You're probably going to destroy them again later this year. You're going to destroy the Raiders. Like, the rest of this season is looking so damn good for the Broncos. I could not have been happier. Before we started this podcast, everybody listening, I want you to know I could give a shit about the Broncos until we did this podcast and Kyle, I saw Kyle's just like passion was matched with mine about the Bears. I was like, I'm so happy about the Broncos, mostly because they're not playing the Bears and they're nowhere in their conference or division.
Not a rivalry at all.
Yeah, not a rivalry at all. Like, I am so happy when the Broncos won. So yesterday or 2 days ago when the Broncos won, I was like, Kyle fucking is having a great time, and I'm happy that he's having a great time. And the Broncos with Russ, with Cortland Sutton, this defense that sacked the quarterbacks for the Chargers like 6 times, got 2 interceptions. It's just all working, man. It's very what am I trying to say? The vibes are high in Denver.
The vibes are good.
The vibes are high in Denver, baby.
The vibes are high. Oh man. And like you said, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Chargers, those should all be wins. And now they do have a game against the Lions. I think they could lose that game, win out, and still make the playoffs at 10-7. But I do like this opportunity to measure ourselves.
What's the tough game they have again?
The Lions Saturday night.
Yeah, it's a dub.
Oh, let's go.
Little sneak peek at our predictions episode tomorrow.
That's a W. So yeah, man, I'm enjoying the ride. Russell Wilson's 46-yard touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton traveled 60.8 yards in the air. The longest touchdown by air distance this season. Wilson now has the 2 longest touchdown passes by air distance in 2023. Broncos country. Let's ride.
What? One more time, Broncos country. Let's ride.
One more time, Broncos country. Let's ride. Unlimited. And we wouldn't be like, joy wouldn't feel so good if it weren't for pain. That's what 50 Cent said. He said, death got to be easy because life is hard. And this wouldn't feel so good if we didn't go
We've definitely gone through some tests, gone through some trials. It's been a hard.
Damn it. I wanted to play it. Oh, shit.
That means we're in sync.
This is what the Broncos did at the end of this game.
That was easy.
There we go. And Staley is still calling the defense, but we do got to say Justin Herbert out for the season. I jumped on, made a quick video when I saw the news. It was news that Charger fans were anticipating, but nonetheless, big news. And whoever, like, that's a whole nother thing. I put it in the video already, but I don't know if if Staley's going to be the guy next year, I would assume not. And I don't think Kellen Moore's having a ton of success either. So they might have to tear the whole thing down. Justin Herbert, the one piece that stays, obviously, but hopefully he makes a full recovery, and then we'll see who's going to be teaming up with him next year. Too bad they didn't try to, I don't know, fire Staley after the Jags game and interview Sean Payton. He would have taken that job.
Oh yeah. With
Russell
Herbert,
Wilson. I think he would have.
I think so too.
But who knows? I mean, he, maybe he
Losers.
because he did say he loves Denver as a sports town. And the Chargers are kind of like dude, did you see the pictures? I mean, it was all orange. It was Bronco fans. It was not even
travel well. They travel well.
And Sean Payton loves a home field that's really into it. So that is all of it. But okay, we got to do Monday night really quick. Where is it? All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with Sunday night. The Eagles and the Cowboys. Sorry, once I go in on the Broncos game, I just didn't care about any game anymore.
You just log off. You're like, all right.
All right, fuck, dude. Only football was awesome. Took a while to get to the fun part, but
usually doesn't take this long. But I don't know.
The Philadelphia Eagles get crushed by the Dallas Cowboys on primetime. Not a pretty loss for Philly. Multiple back-to-back losses in a blowout fashion. Dak Prescott delivers a just great game on primetime. He is my favorite for MVP before the game, and he's my favorite after the game.
Kyle, how many letters are in the word MVP?
3.
How many letters are in the word Dak?
3.
Oh my God. The NFL has been doing this for over 100 years. They have waited for this moment. They knew Dak Prescott in 2023 would be a favorite for MVP. So, conspiracy theories. Dude.
Because of his name?
100%. What is going on in Philadelphia? What the fuck is going on? We have seen them and we have talked about this. Shouldn't really come as a surprise because we have talked about the Eagles don't look as dominant. Sometimes their offense looks stalled. Sometimes their defense looks like shit. So this really shouldn't come as a surprise. And yet somehow it is, because we would think, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, those guys, they're going to be the ones that kind of hold it up for the Eagles if they do struggle. And so far, that has not been the case, man. They have struggled quite a bit, and they've struggled against very good teams. We saw them struggle against the Cowboys badly, and then the 49ers just get absolutely destroyed 2 weeks in a row. This is not good for the Eagles going into the playoffs. This is not good for the Eagles trying to get a division title. This is just not good for the Eagles, man. Their defense looks so much worse than last year. And even though their defense was non-existent in the Super Bowl, there was still some life to it. You know what I mean? There was still something to it. It just does not seem like that is there this year for this Eagles team, but especially when they're playing the top teams in the NFL. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Eagles, but 2 weeks in a row, they get just absolutely mauled. Yeah, that's not a good look.
I will say the one great storyline for the Cowboys is their kicker, Brandon Aubrey. He is emerging as the best kicker in the NFL, right up there with Justin Tucker.
Yeah,
he made field goals. He made 4 extra points, or 3 extra points, but he made field goals from 50 yards, 45, 59, and 60. Wow. He became the first kicker with the 60 and a 59-yarder in the same game. And the Cowboys, the rich get richer. They find a new weapon. There's nothing better than having a surefire kicker. We won Super Bowl 50 because of Brandon McManus. You don't have a kicker, forget about it.
Patriots, because of not Gostkowski, but who was it? The other guy?
Janikowski. No.
It wasn't Gostkowski. It was the other guy.
Not No.
What was his name? I can see he's like one of the most prolific kickers in that era.
Adam Vinatieri.
Vinatieri, and I couldn't remember his name. Vinatieri. Yeah, the kickers are very important. I mean, you see what's going on. God damn it, what team was it that just like I think the Rams at one point had a kicker who missed like 3 field goals in a row. They got rid of him. There was one year last year where kickers were missing like at a ridiculous pace. They got rid of all those guys. So if you don't have a good kicker, you know, they're still going to win this game regardless, but you don't destroy the Eagles like they did.
Yeah. And Shaq Leonard played 17.8%, 13 of the team's defensive snaps, and he had 2 tackles. Leonard chose to sign with the Eagles over Dallas. And right now, Dallas definitely looking like the better team, better defense, better offense. And yeah, the Eagles look beatable. They look like they could get beat by a Tampa Bay team in Tampa Bay. If, you know, things go right for Tampa. They got to get their shit together. They definitely can. But right now, they're not in my top 5. Not right now.
I agree. This is the first time that Jalen Hurts has lost consecutive games since October of 2021.
And Hurts isn't playing great.
Over 2 seasons. Yeah, he's not playing great at all. And the Cowboys, 15th win in a row at home. That's mind-blowing to think of that number.
Yep. And they had the most December wins too. Or the Cowboy, or was it Miami that had the most home wins? And they were like 3 games behind the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure. But they just lost on Monday.
So that streak ended or whatever.
Yeah, he needed like 3 more wins. But yeah, man, ugly game for Philly. It's definitely time to worry. And for the Cowboys, we can stop saying that they haven't beaten anybody. And the Cowboys were trending in a direction where this was a likely outcome. That's why Dallas was favorited to win the game. And that's why they won by 20 points. So Cowboys and 49ers definitely in a league of their own at this point. Yeah. And that's looking like the NFC Championship game to me. Our next game, we got the Monday Night Football game. The Tennessee Titans went to Miami.
Yeah.
And if you didn't watch this game, you might be a little confused by the score. Because you may have seen that Miami was up like 14, 15 points with like 4 or 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And Will Levis came into the game and said, not today. The defense just couldn't hold for Miami. And this was a huge game for Will Levis in his career. I think that he's going to be the guy for Tennessee next year because of this win. I think this was a huge statement win. And, you know, for the Titans, it doesn't mean much. But for Miami, it makes us take a step back and say, okay, who do we really trust in the AFC? Is it Miami? Is it Baltimore? Is it the Chiefs? Is it Buffalo? And this was definitely a week where the teams that we did have faith in kind of pulled back a little bit. And then some other teams were just consistently being who they are. But the AFC is obnoxiously all over the place right now. And I believe in Miami, but they show on TV sometimes that they can't close the door. And then when they get behind, they can't come back. So, I mean, if you can't protect a lead and you can't play from behind. Also, Tyreek left the game with an ankle. We'll see how serious that is. But no, I'm not worried about Miami, but I'm definitely feeling, you know, a little more down on them after letting Tennessee come into their house and win a game that they had a 2-possession lead on so late. And I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest.
Yeah, it really is, especially when Will Levis was the one who caused the fumble on a bad pitch to Henry that caused them to go to be down 2 scores. And yet he was the reason that Tennessee came back and won the game. Like, that game for Miami was honestly, like, it looked like it was just going to be an easy dub. The Titans I talked about the fumble from Will Levis. Not only that, but like special teams, they were bad. They just had like what do you call that when you touch the ball but you don't hold possession of it on a punt? You know the word. You know what I'm talking about.
When you fair catch?
Yeah, no. You don't fair catch it. The ball bounced off the ground. The Tennessee returner was going to grab it, touched it, and it went behind them. Muffed. Yes, Crafty. Thank you.
Yeah,
Muffed.
muffed
He
the punt.
muffed the punt. And that happened like, I think it happened once, but like all over the field, like in all aspects of the game, the Titans look like shit. The Titans really look bad. I was like, oh man, this is going to be probably a blowout for the Dolphins. Not at all, because Will Levis in the last 4.5 minutes led 2 touchdown drives for the Titans. And if you're the Dolphins defense and you're up 2 score, you're like, that's impossible. We can't do that. And they did. They really, really did that in the last 4.5 minutes of the game. But Will Levis, dude, what a gamer. What an absolute gamer. He was able to not only cause that fumble and go down 2 scores because of that fumble on the pitch, but he's able to come back and lead the game-winning drives to win the game on Monday Night Football. Like, what a gamer. The Tennessee Titans, we've talked about how there's been some games where he looks like shit, and then his first game, he had 4 touchdowns. He's up and down. He's a rookie quarterback starting for the, in place of the starter in week 6 or 7, whatever it was. Give him some slack. But when he does things like this, you feel really good about Will Levis moving forward for the Titans. For the Dolphins, yeah, dude, you said it best. Like, how can you not play from behind, and how can you not keep leads? Like, that's just the trust there is just broken on all levels. For the Dolphins, like, Tua didn't even play a very good game. Like, it was mostly Raheem Mostert and like the defense that really got them to where they needed to be, defense and special teams that really put up all the points. Tua didn't play a good game. I feel like the Tyreek loss in the middle of that game did hurt a little bit. But it seems like how Tua goes, or more actually, like Tua and Tyreek, how they play, that's how the Dolphins' outcome will be in games. They play really well, they're going to get a dub. If they seem like there's no connection there, like there's something wrong, one of them gets injured, God forbid one of them gets injured, right, for a long time during big stretches of games, it's probably going to be a loss, but the defense, honestly, all the faults in the world in this game.
Yeah, and there's another surprising game that I'm just putting the touch details on right now, and I can't believe as I'm writing it, it is unbelievable. The Giants have beaten the Green Bay Packers. The Packers played a bad game of football, let's be honest. Like, this was not a good game at all. Tommy DeVito had another good comeback win. I mean, watching the game, they didn't ask him to do too much. He threw 1 pass downfield, like the entire first, second, third, fourth quarter. Most of his, I think the whole first quarter, his deepest throw was 2 scrimmage yards. So they weren't asking him to do that much. So I don't know how much credit. It's not like what Jake Browning's doing. Okay. So, but it was still good. And he's taking advantage of his opportunity. And I like the story. It's a very, just like feel good story, the DeVito thing. So I think that's awesome. But I think for Green Bay, they definitely get some humble pie here. They entered Monday night on a hot streak, but they played the first half of this game as if they never prepared for it. When you saw Jordan Love out on the field and how discombobulated the offense looked, I didn't know if it was Christian Watson. I didn't know if Romeo Doubs needed to step up. There was a couple throws that were just a little off. It seemed like a game that I felt like the Packers were going to win at the end, but the end just never arrived. And it just kept slipping away. And then finally Green Bay gets the go-ahead touchdown. And you feel like, okay, Green Bay is going to win. This game's going to ultimately end how I think it should. And DeVito takes the Giants into field goal range, and they nailed the field goal. They were able to run with Saquon Barkley on that final drive. Packers played terrible run defense. And And the Packers, ultimately, the defense on that final drive is the reason they lost. Bad loss for the Packers. Great win for the Giants at home after giving up some really embarrassing losses at home on primetime this year.
Yeah, I love this DeVito story. Tommy touchdowns, as I like to call him. You said like he didn't really have too impressive of a game. Just under 160 yards and a touchdown pass, which did put them at the lead at the time when he did score a touchdown. But this offense right now is running in both senses of the word through Saquon, and really just how good of a coach Dable is, right? Like I've said mad shit about Dable this season. I'll put my hand up. I have been a Dable non-believer, but for some reason he is able to get the most out of his players, especially these last couple weeks, especially with a third string quarterback, leading the team to these victories that, kind of seem almost like unrealistic when you look at them, because the Packers coming into this week, you're like, oh shit, they just beat the Chiefs. They've been on a pretty good streak of games, of offensive play calling. And yet they are still able to come down the field with Tommy DeVito as their quarterback, leading this drive and get the dub 24-22 off their kicker with a field goal, right? So good, mad props to Dable and that entire coaching staff. Mad props to DeVito, even, getting them down the field for that game-winning drive. I feel like while his stats didn't say anything crazy, that last drive was the reason they won, because of DeVito, what he was able to do with the ball. And of course, Saquon too, right? The 2 touchdowns. Let's not forget that. But DeVito, as a quarterback, we always say the quarterback is the most important position in sports. He's the quarterback. He got them down there. As far as the Packers, kind of like you said, like they were waiting for the end, but it was never really got there. Like it just seemed like they just could never do enough. They could never keep up. The offense stalled. Like they needed 3 field goals from Carlson, their kicker, to even be in this game. And it sucks because
points.
At least they took the points, right? Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When you got Tommy touchdowns going down the field on you, yeah, you're fucked. You're fucked. You're done fucked up. Which, by the way, did you see his agent on the sidelines with him? That was insane. That was like, oh my God, he is in the mafia. No, but the Packers, man, I mean, Jordan Love threw 39 times. He threw almost 40 times this game. And I feel like we kind of talk about the running game and how it's non-existent. They still had over like 120 yards of rushing, but it just didn't seem that way in this game. It just seemed like everything was on Jordan Love, and he could not find the receiver who was going to step up, who was going to get, that almost game-changing play to get them to win. And LaFleur, he got out-coached this game. That's all it was. He got out-coached.
And everything you said about Brian Daboll, I fully agree with. And I was saying that earlier this season when people were talking about blowing it up. I was like, yeah, Brian Daboll. Me. Were you one of them?
No, 100%.
I was like, he is a good coach. I think he proved it last year. And I mentioned this yesterday. What the Giants were last year when Daboll started off with Daniel Jones. He didn't like have him doing too much. And they just kind of won quietly with Saquon Barkley and then Daniel Jones. Literally exactly the kind of football we watched last night. And then they drafted Jalen Hyatt, and they were like, let's be this high-flying offense. Let's let Danny throw the ball a little bit more. And I feel like along the way, it got too chaotic. It was like what Nathaniel Hackett was trying to do in Denver. They needed somebody to come in that could be like, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run the football. We're going to throw the ball once the running game is, effective in the game. But we're not going to ask our quarterbacks to do too much. But when the game, comes down to it, we'll be able to get in field goal range because we're going to average, around 4 or 5 yards per play. And we're not going to get a lot of big plays, but we're going to get first downs instead. I think that's kind of why you're seeing some of the success with Tommy DeVito is because Brian Daboll is a good coach. He's like, okay, This is what I have. I have Tommy DeVito. This is his skill level. This is what he can give us. And then in the game plan, you see Dable just cooking up some easy plays for him,
Yeah.
getting some people open easily, a heavy dose of the running game. This is just great coaching by Brian Dable. And this is a very good example. You can use this. You could even use the Broncos, the Bears, the Chargers. This is why coaching is, I think it's more important than we think. We say, is it 50-50?
Mhm.
Sometimes it feels like it's like 70-30 coaching. Sometimes coaching really does seem to be, unless you have a top 3 quarterback, right? Then it's like, okay, anybody could succeed with this guy, with
Mhm.
Mahomes. But if you're dealing with Russell Wilsons and DeVitos and Jordan Loves and stuff like that, and Justin Fields,
Mhm.
you're dealing with these type of quarterbacks, coaching is very important.
Mhm.
And Dable is definitely a great offensive coach, and that's the reason the Giants are winning 3 games in a row. And they're not going to start checking the scoreboard yet, to
Yeah.
see other teams. But
This coaching by Dable almost kind of reminds me of the coach from The Water Boy. It's like he couldn't do shit. Like then all of a sudden you get the Water Boy, which is DeVito in this case, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh yeah, oh he's writing shit in
yeah.
his notebook and he's getting those dubs, dude."
And he knows, he's like, winning with DeVito is like winning with an arm tied behind my back. Like,
Exactly.
everybody knows you're a badass if you come
Mhm.
out and beat the Packers with Tommy
Mhm.
DeVito, and they did. But yeah, I don't know what it means for the Giants, but for Brian Dable, I think he definitely, for anybody that was calling for his job, I think the way he's finishing definitely is going to be like, okay, let's not play the find a head coach game, if we got one here. And
Mhm.
I think they do. So Tommy DeVito completed 10 of 13 passes on longer developing plays, time to throw over 2.5 seconds for 119 yards. The Giants have had a pretty bad offensive line, but it just shows you
Yeah.
when he has 2.5 seconds, 10 of 13 for 120 yards. That is step one for any team. Give your quarterback time to throw. It's amazing what even Tommy DeVito can go out there and do when you got two
Yeah.
and a half seconds to throw the ball.
You gotta love it. Even with Tommy DeVito, you're just like, wow. I do like what questions does this bring up over the offseason? Because you talked about like they have a bad offensive line. Like the play calling is not necessarily catered to DeVito, unless in cases where you have to get downfield fast and you got to throw the ball right. In the offseason, like obviously you have a $40 million quarterback over there with Daniel Jones, but you've got to get this play calling and this offensive scheme right for both these guys because it almost seems like you don't trust either of them to throw the ball if you're Dable. But I think the offensive scheme is going to be a big question for the Giants in the offseason.
Couldn't agree more.
Can't agree more.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our Week 14 NFL predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed them. I definitely did, but that will conclude our predictions. All right, next up, Rick.
I think what is it that we do have, Kyle?
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
Top 5. Kyle?
Top 5.
Top 5.
I'm
do
freaking jacked about this top 5. I've been working on it all day. I almost got it perfect.
Liar.
You started last week, so
Mhm.
this week I'm gonna start. Okay.
Let's do it. Hold on. I think I know what's coming up. Hold on. Go.
At number 5, I have the Denver Broncos.
Oh shit!
The Denver
That's
Broncos.
insane. Kyle, let's talk about it because
I didn't want to do this premature because I wanted the moment to feel right. If you just prematurely put them up there, you know that you're fucking lying. And there's a little bit of you that's kind of like, yeah, I bullshitted my way through that. I am not going to lose any sleep with this. The Broncos, to me, are the second best team in the AFC. I think there's only 2 teams in the NFC that are better. When it goes to the AFC, I think, yeah, obviously you got the Ravens playing really good ball. But if you had to pick another team that you could rely on week in and week out, I'm taking a team that's won 6 of the last 7 games. I'm talking about Cortland Sutton playing at first team All-Pro level. Patrick Surtain playing great defense. Our linebackers are flying around. Our defense is opportunistic. They're getting interceptions. They're getting after the quarterback. They're knocking players out of the game. Not that we like that, but this is a very, very physical defense, and there's not really an area. Marvin Mims is doing fabulous returning punts. Our kicker was up for Special Teams Player of the Month for November. I mean, there's just Will Lutz is making all of his kicks. There's just not really a glaring weakness on the team, and it's just one of those where it's slowly just progressed into like fluke, and then eventually we're like, okay, maybe these aren't flukes. Maybe we just figured out who Denver is, and who they are is not sexy. It's not explosive. But the scoring's down this year. And because Denver's taking advantage of their points, advantage of the turnover battle, and Russell Wilson's not making mistakes and he's throwing touchdown passes, you got one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I have no words. You start 1-5 and you end up at number 5 on my power rankings. I could have never have dreamed for this to happen. And now 1 game out, I'm seeing things like, should the Chiefs be worried about the Broncos? I'm like, yeah, the Chiefs should be worried about everybody right now.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God. And you see Nick Wright, who's on First Things First.
Yeah.
And he is a Chiefs fan and he hates the Broncos. And he's like, they're going to finish 8-9, just like they were projected. They were just so bad in the beginning of the season that once they started playing at an average level, we were like, they're great because of how bad they were. And I was like, I could understand there's a little bit of truth to that. Like if you're playing really bad, when you somewhat turn it around, people are going to give you your flowers.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't give someone flowers because they were so bad. You should give them flowers. And I think he's robbing the kind of the good moral of what Denver's accomplished.
100%.
It's not easy to turn a team around that's 1-5. It's not easy to keep your locker room hungry week in and week out, especially keeping your defensive coordinator bought in after giving up 70 points. This is one of the all-time great turnarounds in NFL history, and it's happened to be my Denver Broncos. And it just feels good to be a fan of a team that is gives me a reason to be happy, gives me a reason to want to tell people I'm a Denver Broncos fan and not get jokes or laughed at, but be taken serious in the NFL. Sean Payton in 1 year has turned 7 years of just terrible football. He's turned it all around in just 14 weeks. Unbelievable.
I love it. I'm very happy for you. And these two, like, honestly, like the top five for me this week was tough. It was tough. You had a lot of top teams losing, and it was difficult to put people in this top 5. Unfortunately, my number 5, Kyle, is the Browns. It's a random pick. I get it. I know.
But I wanted you to take the Browns.
I know, but you're looking at me like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Because yes, even I'm like
the Browns.
I get it. But I'm here thinking like, I can't put the Chiefs there after the loss. I could maybe put the Bills, but like, what if they get one good win in the last 4 weeks? The Browns have been somewhat consistent with their defense, and now Flacco looks pretty good. It's like, okay, they had a really good win against the Texans, who I thought were going to win this week. I thought they were going to be a top 5 team. I've got the Browns in here. I know it's a random one, but again, no one in the NFC impressed me in terms of the top 5 team. Nobody in the AFC impressed me other than the ones I already have in my top 5. So I got the Browns in at number 5. And it's really like, I feel like it's a very like a big letdown at number 5, but I can't put a Chiefs team who just lost. I can't put a Jaguars team who just lost. It's tough to put teams like that at number 5. So my number 5 are the Browns.
I don't blame you. At number 4, I got the Detroit Lions.
Wow.
Now, Detroit is not playing good football right now. They're coming off a bad loss to Chicago. But if I had to pick, my 5 teams that I trust, somehow the Lions are still in there because I know Dan Campbell is a great coach, and I know that they have so much talent on that team. But I just, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to get it together. I don't like putting the Lions there, but like said, a lot of good teams lost. So
yeah, it's so tough.
You're going to have teams that are going to stay in it. I had Miami just missing at number 6, but the Detroit is coming off a bad loss and all of that. But when they're at their best, I've seen when Detroit's at their best, they're better than what I've seen from Philly at their best this year.
Yeah.
So that's why Philly moves out and Detroit gets to stay, is because we've seen, I think, in my opinion, enough glimpses of the Lions operating at a very, very high efficient level on primetime football. I'm not going to forget about all of that. Lions 4.
All right. And yeah, the Miami thing, like you can't put them up there after they just lost to Tennessee either. You can't do that. What their defense failed to do in the last quarter, like it's just impossible. All right.
And the fact that without Tyreek, they had no offense.
Yeah, and you still got Waddle, you still got Tua, you still got Raheem. Like you still have plenty of weapons.
So out of sync.
And yet somehow, they're just out of sync. All right. Who do the Lions play again next week?
The Denver Broncos.
That's who I have at number 4. I've got the Denver Broncos as my number 4 team on my top 5. The Broncos have won 6 of their last 7, have looked good. And yes, there's been wins where it's been a last minute Cortland Sutton tippy toe touchdown. That doesn't matter. Look what they just did to the Chargers. Again, Herbertless, sure, whatever. They demolished them. That's exactly what we're supposed to do against these teams. Sean Payton has turned around the culture. He has turned around the defense. A little credit to Vance Joseph there. But the fact that you're able to get rid of a Randy Gregory, the fact that you have a Cortland Sutton who has double-digit touchdowns for the first time in what seems like a decade. Russ looks pretty damn good. Not decent, but he looks pretty damn good so far in these last 7 games in which they've got a winning record now. They're 1 game out of the division lead. They are probably going to get into the playoffs here, whether a wild card or division. Like it doesn't matter. Like the Cowboys, I don't care what Nick Wright says. You can yuck the Denver yum, but facts are facts. They're playing very well right now, and they're going to win out the rest of the season. Denver Broncos at 4.
Woo! Oh my gosh, you're making me nervous.
For those of you who don't know, Kyle just erupted.
Oh my God, dude. I came.
All right, Kyle. I need you to come down from that and give me your number 3.
Okay. I was not expecting that. When you went with the Browns at 5, I gave up. I was like, maybe next week. Okay. At number 3, I have the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have been the most consistent team in the AFC. I think right now they're the best team in the AFC. Played a close game against the Rams, but I think the Rams played a really good game of football. That was a good win. That I said it like 3 times this year. I'll say it one more time. I think when the Lions beat the Chargers in that back and forth game, very similar to this game. I think the ability, like when the Cowboys beat Seattle, when Seattle was going back and forth with Dallas, those wins are very impressive. When you can beat another team when they're at their best, it just shows how good a team really is, and Baltimore's battle tested. They're the best team in the AFC. Ravens at 3.
100% agree. I've also got the Ravens at 3. They luckily they were able to escape with a win, in overtime against the Rams, and the Rams put up a very good fight against the Ravens, and the Ravens were still able to come out on top. Like you said, they've been consistent throughout the year, and honestly, you go back to probably late September, early October. I think I've had the Ravens in my top 5 since about then. There's been maybe a couple bad losses where I've maybe taken them out, but the Ravens, like you said, they've just been consistent. They don't have a 3-game losing streak like for example, the 49ers, right? They don't have terrible losses like the Cowboys and the Eagles. Yes, they've had some very questionable losses against the Pittsburgh Steelers, for example, and even the Browns, but they've been consistent enough in their offense and their defense where something like that happens and you're just like, okay, the Ravens, I think, are going to come back again next week. And for the most part, they do. They're top of the AFC right now, so they're looking good. And yeah, Ravens at number 3.
All right, Rick.
Who's who? Who's 2-1, Kyle? Who's 2-1?
And number 2, I have the 49ers.
Oh no.
The 49ers have the best defense in the NFL. They're giving up 15.8 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
In their last 3, though, they are ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're ranked 5th.
Wow.
Giving up 16 points a game. Denver 3rd, 13.7, whatever. But I'll save it for number 1. But the 49ers are playing really good football. I don't mean to knock them down because they played, Seattle team, but it's just it's hard to talk about one without talking about the other.
Yeah.
We both have probably years swapped. So I'll just tell you straight up right here why I have them over the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
It's their offense. Their offense has been outstanding against really good defenses. Dallas is doing just quietly, just dominating everything.
Mm-hmm.
In their last 3 games, they're averaging 39.7 points, a 40 burger. In their last 3 games, they averaged 40. That's not normal to average 40, especially when you have the defense that Dallas has. The 49ers are averaging 33, which, isn't bad. On the season, San Francisco averages 29 points per game. Dallas is number 1 still on the season. But what's really impressive is Dallas averages 40 points at home this season. And I think Dallas is going to end up being potentially the number 1 seed. And whoever does have to go to Dallas and play them is going to have to be ready to take on a team that is averaging 40 points a game at home. Mm-hmm. This is the best offense in the NFL. And the 49ers are, only 3 spots behind in most categories, and their defense definitely makes up for it. But I think with how good Dallas's offense is, I think it makes up for the area of defense that the 49ers are a little bit better, at, because Dallas is right here on I'll just put for 2023, Dallas is 4th, giving up 17.9 points. Mm-hmm. San Francisco's given up 15.8. So you're saying Dallas gives up 2 extra points on defense. That's still outstanding. Baltimore sandwiched in between, the 49ers and Dallas with Kansas City there. But only two points, extra giving up, but yet they're scoring 40. It's just kind of like I'm taking kind of the sample size of the entire season and looking at it. I'm still really high on San Francisco, and that hasn't changed at all. It's just you can't just keep scoring 40 and stay in second because the 49ers hit number 1 first.
You can't just keep getting away with it like that.
This is going to be the first time I have ever had the Dallas Cowboys as number 1 in my power rankings. And congrats to the Cowboys, because I know that my entire lifetime they haven't won shit. I think why not this year? Why not this year? I want Jerry Jones to win one. before he dies. And I don't know how much time he's got left. So, if they, I'm not kidding, man. He's
Yeah, no, you're not.
but I do want to see him get one. And if this is the year, so be it. Dallas is at 1.
Yeah, so you've got Niners at 2, Dallas at 1. I've got the flip. I've got the Cowboys at number 2, and I've got the Niners at number 1. And really, honestly, like all those stats, very impressive for both teams. That week 5 matchup between the Niners and the Cowboys, that's kind of what gives me what kind of gives the 49ers that edge for me. Obviously, we all know what happened after that game. I mentioned it a lot for Dallas, and I mentioned it a lot on the side of the 49ers. We saw where that shift happened, and yet here they both are, the top 2 teams in the NFC, probably the top 2 teams in the NFL. Like that matchup for, as lopsided as that was early in the season, both teams came out and still performed at a great level, at a Super Bowl type of level for both of these teams. I wouldn't be surprised if we see both of these guys in the NFC Championship. Honestly, like that's how good they are.
Yeah.
Again, I'm giving the 49ers the edge on the Cowboys because of that early season win. So they're number 1 for me, but Cowboys, yeah, man, they're still right at number 2. They are on the heels of the 49ers. I don't know what McCarthy's doing with that team from last year with Dak Prescott. He's playing at a ridiculous MVP level. CeeDee Lamb is a fucking MVP caliber type of wide receiver. Micah Parsons and this defense is just so damn dominant. So the Cowboys are just up there, and they're very good. The 49ers, again, we talked about what Brock Purdy has done with the weapons around him, getting everyone the ball and making everyone a piece of that offense that makes a huge difference at the end of the day with the scoring, right?
Yeah.
And the defense, I feel like we talk, what you said about the Cowboys, you're like the offense and the defense, like you talk about both of them kind of combined. I feel like the 49ers defense doesn't get as much praise as the offense because you got guys like Fred Warner there in the defense, kind of, being the defensive general, and they're just shutting teams out, man. They're just getting these wins like with no remorse. So again, credit to both of these two. But yeah, Cowboys number 2 for me, 49ers number 1 for me. This is going to be a very fun NFC playoffs coming up.
And what's funny is even though we gave up 70, Denver and Chicago and Miami are all tied for giving up 23.8 points per game. So
oh, wow.
Somehow we've
we're climbing
back into a respectable 23.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think also this is going to play out in the next couple of weeks. We got the 49ers playing the Cardinals 3-10 versus a 10-3 team. 49ers are going to crush them. But then for Dallas, they're going to be playing the Bills, and the Bills are playing for their whole season. That's going to be a tough game. And then the Ravens play the Jags, and the Eagles play the Seahawks. All those are going to be really good games. And then next week, the Cowboys are going to be playing the Dolphins, and the 49ers are going to be playing the Ravens on Monday night. So I think in the next 2 weeks, this kind of confusion about, 49ers Cowboys, I really think it's gonna settle itself in about 2 weeks, because one of these teams is going to lose one of these games. We just don't know, is it the Cowboys or the 49ers? If they both, continue to win out, then we'll still be stuck. But there's a good chance that, one of these teams, loses, especially the Sunday night football game, Ravens Jags with Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sleeping on the Jags in that game at all.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. These are all division leaders. These are all teams with winning records with a good amount of games over 500, right? Like these are teams that are thinking playoffs, not thinking like we need to make this game, like we need to win. They're thinking playoffs, right? So yeah, never count these kinds of teams out.
Who says we won't be at home in the playoffs?
Hey, and on that note,
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
All right, Kyle, it's that time of the show. We got to add the little little how's the salt guy? Just the chives.
Just a little bit of chives. All right, for my chives today, I'm going to give you the NFL's top five. All right, this is how the NFL sees it. 49ers 1. The Ravens come in at number 2. The Cowboys at 3. Eagles at 4. Dolphins 5. Chiefs 6. Detroit 7. Cleveland 8. Jacksonville 9. Bills 10. Denver 11. Houston 12.
Where the Bears at? 22? 21?
17, 18, 19, 20, 21. No, I'm the 23.
Yeah, okay.
At
Jordan.
a summer cookout, one of the other dads asked me how many games the Bears would win this season. I said 7 to 9. Felt reasonable. Of course, I ran into some guy immediately after the 0-4 start, the same guy, which made us both laugh. I hope I see him again soon. Since then, the Bears have gone 5-4, including 2-2 with Tyson Bagent, and have completely changed the arc of the season. It's wild to say aloud, but if they win their final 4 games, the Bears have a decent shot at making the playoffs. The defense did Sunday what it could not against the Lions in Detroit. Close it out late. Justin Fields showed star potential at times against a Lions defense, hitting DJ Moore, who also had a rushing touchdown for a thrilling score on 4th and 13 to pad the fourth quarter lead. I presume the win also made it more likely that Fields, Matt Eberflus, and Ryan Poles are all back next season for a team that suddenly has serious momentum.
Calm down. I think it's crazy that the Dolphins are 5 after that loss. I think it's
I think
the
it's
Eagles
crazy too.
4?
I think it's crazy that the Bills and the Browns are above Broncos when Denver just beat both of them.
Yeah. I would not put the Browns above the Denver Broncos at all. That's kind of weird. See, this is what's weird is that they put the Browns and the Bills above the Broncos, but they put the Texans below the Broncos.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be the other way around, but still
I think the Texans should be above the Broncos, but I don't think Cleveland or the Bills should be above the Broncos or the Texans right now.
Yeah, I think it's just the Josh Allen.
But at the same time, you got to keep in mind Josh Allen, they lost the game because of 12 men on the field on the Denver game. They lost a couple of games because of penalties. This could very well be, let's say easily 9-4 team right now. And they did just beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So I think Buffalo's definitely got a real shot at the playoffs, but like I said, they're playing the Cowboys this week. So they could start losing again. It's just not a good time to need wins the way they do.
Yeah. It's not a good time to be looking at your schedule and be like, if we can win out, we can possibly make it in the playoffs. No, you got to win those games in the early season. Great show today, everybody. Kyle, thank you so much for your chives as always. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, just real quick on my end, obviously I wasn't, present for some of the streams in the last 3-4 streams. And, I want to give a quick hell yeah to Kyle for holding it down for me. Hell yeah. Throwing a hell yeah for Kyle for holding it down for Only Football. So I appreciate that from Kyle. And I appreciate you guys tuning in, understanding, because sometimes life happens, and getting back to this, even though I just missed like 3 or 4 streams, like getting back to it, talking football with Kyle, seeing you guys in the comments, like, it's just like, damn, like you miss it, even if it's just been a few days. And I'm sure Kyle can attest to that too. Like, you miss it sometimes and you get back into it. Here we are talking about Tommy DeVito. Here we are talking about Justin Fields and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, fuck yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So it takes quite a bit for me to kind of step away from it. But again, life happens, and luckily it's nothing, it's nothing ridiculously crazy that I could no longer be on Only Football. But, I just wanted to address and let you guys know that I'm back. It's going to be just the good old, the Only Football podcast. It's going to be fucking awesome.
Dude, I almost died on Saturday.
Did you? Why?
So I've been a part of a lot of hurricanes, but there was a tornado.
Oh, you're right.
I woke up and my mom's like, there's a tornado in Kentucky. And I was like, okay. I mean, she's like, no, it's heading towards us. And I was like, okay. yeah, a little concern. Like I'll keep a lookout, I guess. You know.
Mhm.
Well, it gets closer and it's strengthening, and the
That's
technology
insane.
we have is insane, dude. I'm saying I watched this tornado and the damage that it was. I mean, it was devastating. And I
Mhm.
watched it all of the way until we were like, it's in Nashville. And then the news is like, if you're in Hendersonville, this is not a tornado warning. This is the highest level that exists. This is a tornado
My
emergency.
god.
Seek shelter right now. And they're
Yeah.
literally going, the tornado is on, 17th Street. Now it's going over the golf course. The golf course is right outside our neighborhood. They're like,
Oh
this is
my
going
god.
through a neighborhood, and that's our neighborhood. And I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit. So we go under the stairs, but there's no basement. They're like, go to the basement. If you don't have a basement, go to a neighbor's basement. You need to be in a
Yeah.
basement.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, in the tornado position, praying like,
Mhm.
but I was like, this is crazy. I feel like I have no control over this. And then right when they go, the tornado is going, into our street, the internet clicks out, video's gone, internet's gone, power's gone,
Oh my god.
and all you can do is like hear the storm, coming by, and
Yeah.
it luckily it didn't hit us. Maybe the houses were structured, better, but it went over, and dude, it's a whole thing. Like they're working on the power lines right now. When I was coming back from
Jesus
the store, there was
Christ.
like 20, electric companies outside. It was,
Mhm.
I think Taylor Swift donated $1 million of her own money to, help the victims and stuff.
Wow, good on her. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was insane though. I mean, it was like, it's just, you always wonder, like, you can die like that, it's like, and you never think it would
Yeah.
happen to you. And I was sitting there like, and I'm like, oh my God, I've spent so much time going, I can't believe that happens to people. And now here I am helpless over something that's bigger than myself.
Still not believing it.
And I can't run away, because you get in the car,
Mhm.
you don't know which direction it's gonna go, so you
Mhm.
can't, like, outrun it,
Yeah.
so you just gotta sit there, and it was terrifying, dude. I mean, it was, like, yeah, I just haven't been that scared before, because there's
Yeah.
nothing I could do. You can't shoot at it, you know what I mean?
Powerless. Yeah, 100% powerless.
You just gotta sit there. And I was like, I'm buying because I'm looking to buy a house right now, and I was like, when I buy, the first thing I'm doing is making, like, a bomb shelter, like, under
Mhm.
the house. Like, I
Yeah.
want there to be food supply. I want to be able to go underground when a tornado is on,
Yeah.
going through. I want to be underneath it. I don't want to be like, because I'm like, if it wipes out the house, then we die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're supposed to just sit in this room and wait for it to happen. Like, it just didn't sit well with me. But I've never
Mhm.
been in that situation, like, where I was that. I've been like around tornadoes, but one like coming through the neighborhood, never. It was insane.
Yeah. Man, that's an insane feeling, man. And here we are, Kyle and I, going through life and tornadoes, still bringing you only football.
Yeah.
My God, we are undefeated. We are the Patriots of 2007 up until the Super Bowl.
Up
And
until the Giants beat them. Yeah, yeah. We're
Kyle,
18-0.
we're into Kyle. I'm glad you're all right, man. And all you guys, this is why we do this, because we appreciate you guys, and we appreciate doing this. And like Kyle said, you could die any day. You know what I mean? And it's like, at least we're able to kind of like make a difference in a sense, right? In this sense, right? So, yeah, Kyle and I battling life and tornadoes. You got to put that on a quote card.
Yeah, that's
Kyle
gonna
and Rick,
be our season 2 name.
season 3,
Battles and Tornadoes.
life and tornadoes,
Life
just
and Tornadoes.
the fight.
The will to continue brings you Dan Campbell with the vein popping out. Life in Tornadoes.
And here we are, like in our computers, just like, yeah, football sucks.
Have you seen the Nick Swartzen stand-up where he's like, to mess with all the high people, I want there to be like a serious movie trailer, like a mom forced to raise 5 kids alone after her husband tragically dies. From the producers of Philadelphia and the director of Castaway come Boner Soup. He's like, all the high people, like, soup. Boner Soup, the one about the mom. I didn't see a boner or soup in that whole.
They avoid all boners and soups in that movie. Oh god. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Obviously, Kyle and I are having a blast. I'm back. It's just all back to normal, baby. The only football podcast. Playoffs are coming. It is the last few games of the season until playoffs, and we're getting ramped up here at the Only Football Podcast. You can follow me at And Now Rick on X, and you could follow the Only Football page at Only Football KR on X. Kyle, where can they follow you on X?
You can follow me at FTBLONLYPODCAST. I'm going to work on that week to week. Go ahead and follow me. I got some really good Broncos content. I reposted 2 things. One of them, I have a teary face emoji, and you have to watch it and really watch it. It's like a 10-second video, but you can see so much in that 10-second clip between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Check it out. Follow me. I'll especially for Nick, all you Bronco fans, you'll love it.
Kyle?
Can't agree more.
Go follow us on X. Go follow our YouTube. Go follow our Twitch. Please subscribe, like, and share these videos. It would really help us out quite a bit. We're on the quest to 500 subscribers on YouTube, so we can get super chats. We can get subscriptions going. Like, we've got a lot planned for the Only Football Podcast, and you guys are part of that growth. And again, we cannot thank you guys more. There's plenty more coming for sure. Kyle, always a great time, man.
Always a great time. Don't mind the bottom. I will see you guys next time.
Four.
See ya.
See ya.